welcome to this month's episode of Money Mountaineering with Peter Neuwirth. We invite you to tune in to this podcast that discusses what's your money worth. And this season's episodes are all about the sharing economy. And tonight's guest is an amazing example of that. Rebekah Wright is the bookstore manager for Barnes & Noble in Santa Rosa, California. And they are going to be talking about books, bookstores, and the role they play in our world. Take it away, Pete.
So let me start by saying welcome, and it's great to see you in through the screen. I mean, usually I see you in the real world. So let's start with how did you come to be the manager of Barnes & Noble? And I know you love books, and tell me a little bit about your journey that got you to that role.
Oh, it's actually it's a cute story. So my first job ever, I was in junior high and I volunteered at the local library for their summer reading program. And I helped with all of the kids that would come in and they'd share the books that they read and just be so excited about them. And we were able to encourage that love. And I don't think that ever really left me. So when just Barnes & Noble kind of became an opportunity, I couldn't help but jump at the chance to be able to continue that sharing of passion about books and learning and just the overall joy of reading. So I was really lucky that kind of fell into my lap for me, that I'm still able to pursue a career in something I'm so passionate about.
Now was that Santa Rosa that you grew up in? Where
No, I grew up in Southern California. In Monrovia, tiny little cute town. I moved up here to Santa Rosa about 10 years ago now. Fell in love with the community. I think it's been a great area for creativity and exploration. So I'm glad I landed here.
Mm-hmm. And did you always love books as a kid? And did you? I mean, I know you're actually a writer yourself. I mean, so when did you move from reading to writing, and how did that all play in your?
I mean, it's always been a tied in piece. I wrote a story. I was like in first grade. It was about fairies. And I kept it. And then just it kind of grew and grew. And in fifth grade, I had just changed schools and I was the brand new girl and everyone had grown up together. So I was struggling to make friends and fit in. And I wrote a story about the new kid in school. And so that was a way I was able to express and work through some of those things for myself. And then it transitioned into poetry because it was an easier way to share shorter snippets of ideas that I had. And that just happened to be my outlet. And so I've kind of just continued that from there.
One of the things that has always struck me about your bookstore is just the kind of amazing, well-chosen variety of books. So how do you do that? I mean, does it come from how well read you are, or does it? I mean, where does?
No, I think, you come to rely on your team a lot. And when you talk about curation, which is what you're saying, like how books are placed, where they're placed, what titles come in, it's important to remember that there's no like one right answer for that. Because we will carry books that are those tried and true authors, the Pattersons, Bill O'Reilly, that will always have the trending romance authors, Colleen Hoover. But then when we look at getting in those more local authors, it's so important to build that relationship and to listen to what the community wants to read. So it's having those conversations with the people that come in the building. What do they love to read? What do they want to read that they haven't seen? And then I have a great team behind me of leaders who are very well read and well versed and know how to kind of navigate the system and find some of those answers and try to help bring in some of those lesser known titles.
Well, it does seem like it is almost a community center because,
yes.
So it really is part of the local scene here, and it sounds like you also choose the books based on what people want to read. And how do you find out what people want to read?
Oh, you just have those conversations. People come in the door every single day, and whether they're looking for a specific title or just they're like, oh, this is what I read recently that I loved. Book people are always willing to have that conversation with you because they want to share what they love. and they're always willing to get feedback from you. My to read list is a mile long because every customer I come in contact with says, oh, I read this book and it was fantastic. And I'm like, let me add that to my list because I want to know what the community's reading, because that will help me train my team and develop my team to find those titles.
Okay, so this is and I guess this kind of displays a little bit of self-interest, but how do you choose your money books?
Oh, money books. I do have a bookseller whose business, when I needed some investment information, I went to him to ask, and he will say, this is a great title. If you're starting off, you want to look at this one. So it's really about doing that, as well as using our sister stores, because, we're not going to have that title knowledge in every single one of our stores, but I can easily reach out to my store in Walnut Creek or my store out in Fairfield and say, hey guys, do you have anyone who really knows this area and knows what books we're looking for? And so it's about pooling that information.
Well, so to me, I mean, libraries are sort of the ultimate in the sharing economy. It's where, those are community resources, and you take them out, you read it, you use it, and then somebody else uses it, and that's how you avoid having to deal with money. You avoid the tax man and all kinds of things. But somehow you and Barnes and Noble, and also the other bookstores in town, the other bookstore in town. I mean, I think of Treehorn, the used bookstore. You were pretty simpatico. I mean, you guys, I don't feel like you're in competition. I mean, how do you feel what is your relationship to the library?
I think it's fantastic. We partner with the Friends of the Library, who run their donation and their book sales all the time. When we're able to give them titles, we do. I don't know how many times someone's come in and I don't have a book right away. I've suggested the library. I suggest they head down to Treehorn, the used bookstore, because they might find this old edition they're looking for. And they do the same for us too, because really at the end of the day, yes, we want to make money. We want to support the bookstore, but we also want to get that information into your hands, help you find what it is you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you are part of the sharing economy then, because you share with the library shares with you, customers and books go back and forth. Yeah. So maybe, and I do believe money is part of the sharing economy, because sometimes you share your money and sometimes you loan money and sometimes you give a few bucks to somebody that needs it for whatever, and then they give you money back.
Yeah, there's times where we have local self-published authors. They haven't been picked up by Simon and Schuster or Random House, but they have their physical books and they want to try to sell them. And we're able to do consignment events and get those books into the store so that we are helping them. It doesn't help us. It's a very small margin that we even get, but we're offering that author an opportunity to have exposure, to meet the community. We hold local events. We do little book signings for them because we want to help support that local author as much as, the Pattersons in the world. Well,
yeah. I mean, and you guys were very good to me. I mean, you had me in your window for a while with all the other local authors. And that is a wonderful thing for an author who lives here. And how do you see the relationship between the bookstore and the author? I mean, I think a lot about the relationship between the publisher and the author, which sometimes is acrimonious and sometimes it's very synchronistic. What about the bookstore and the author?
Well, I think it's when it's these local authors, it's really about that communication piece, and you find a store that's willing to support you and to really being able to bring you in. You have to have that open communication. We've had local authors come in where they want to try to sell their book, and we have to have sometimes honest conversations about whether or not that's a title that the community wants to would read, or if that's a trend we see. And it's really a great back and forth. We have authors that call whenever their new books come out or are about to. And it's really about being okay with that back and forth. You have to have consistent follow-up and just be really willing and open to discussing ideas. Like I said earlier, like we always wanted to support all of our local authors. We've had some great ones that have come in and done children's events in the store. Tracy Stanley, she is fantastic. She's in Sebastopol, has a handful of books about the weather. She comes in, we'll host a story time. She'll always have like a hands-on craft, and we're able to offer her that space in which to do it. There's another local author, Morgan Cochran, who wrote the ABCs of jug band music. He'll bring his instruments in. And so it's really about being comfortable offering the space and finding the right time and the energy of what's going to be best for both parties.
Well, and the one author you didn't mention the event that I came to was Maya Kababe.
Yes.
Which was wonderful. I mean, that was and I would never ever have picked up I guess Air book. I don't know the exact know. I think it's EM and Air is Air pronouns. And he wrote Gender Queer, which was a banned book. It's one of the most banned books in America. And
yes, that was a fantastic event, and we actually were able to partner with that because of one of my current booksellers, Parker Hinton, they are involved with Positive Images, and Positive Images had a partnership with Mia, so we were able to connect that way through the community.
Right. I mean, as I say, I find my book is in Barnes and a lot of Barnes and Nobles around the country, and when I go around the country, I usually go into the local one and sign a few copies and move on, and I'm just struck by how different each one really is, and so. Is there a culture within Barnes and Noble that fosters that? I mean, how do they keep that kind of local feel, even being it's such a big corporation?
Yeah, no, I love that question. It wasn't necessarily that way when I started. A lot of it has to do with the new CEO that was brought aboard, James Daunt, who runs Waterstones in the UK, as well as Daunt Books, his own bookstore. And his belief is that each bookstore should run like an individual independent bookstore, because we need to be reflective of our community. So we were given, they loosen the strings on what we could order, the displays we can make, the content we bring into the building, because the books, that we have in Santa Rosa aren't going to speak to the same community that is, in a store on the East Coast. Completely different area, different community, different people, different customers, different ideas. And to really be a successful business, you need to have the backing of your community. And so that's what we're allowed to do.
You do more than manage the local bookstore. You also run an open mic and that's another kind of a sharing of things. Can you tell us a little bit about open mic? Because anybody who's listening who's within driving distance ought to go.
Please come. So the local coffee shop brew in Santa Rosa has become very much a family space for the community. Every Tuesday nights from about 6 to 9 o'clock, we have local writers, poets, songwriters, comedians, pretty much everything you can think of show up every week. My fiance is the main host. He does the sound for the event. And it's just become something that is, I've been to a few open mics, and this one has the most supportive community show out that I have ever seen. We have first timers that come out. We have people that are on tour stop by because of just the environment itself. And, that's where you and I had the pleasure of meeting, which was fantastic. And now we've grown to this, and you see people connect, and you see these, musicians coming together to collaborate and to make new things. And you see writers working with musicians to help with lyrics. And it's just a continued cycle of like growth and support and sharing of all of these beautiful ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I met a musician there who I found out was writing a book, and then I passed on his book proposal to my publisher, and it didn't turn into a contract, but there are all of these things that come from the
Those
sharing,
connections, yes.
the free sharing of ideas and so forth. And what I love about open mic, and by the way, it's what you want to just give the address just so that people know where to go.
It is, I'm trying to think if I remember it. So it is in downtown Santa Rosa on Healdsburg Avenue. I don't have the exact address, but it is like a hop, skip, and a jump straight up from the Santa Rosa Plaza.
Yeah, I mean I mean, again, if it's anything that gives me hope in this world, is that it does seem like things are breaking down in some sense, and then each community is sort of finding its own way and finding, and that's, that's my thing about the sharing economy. The sharing economy works in the real world in a local setting because we're probably only 2 degrees of separation away from any other person in Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
And because I guess of COVID and a lot of other other factors, each community is almost on its own and finding its own way to navigate. And again, I think the sharing economy, the community-based way does seem to work. I mean, it's working here, and maybe it's not all the way scalable, but it does sound like if you've got a kind of an enlightened CEO who's in charge of a giant corporation, you can make it. You can sort of make it local, but what was the saying? Think globally and act local.
Think globally, act locally. Yeah, it's really important, I think, for us just all to remember that we're all people and we've all had different experiences, and that when we really take the time to sit down and share our stories, we're going to learn so much from each other. Right.
Well, that's a great, I think we're almost out of time, but that's a great way to end it. Share our stories and as part of the sharing economy, because our stories is what's going to get us through, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, Becca, thank you so much for spending time with me. And
thank you.
And when are we going to see your book in print, or am I going to just still have to listen to bits of it at open mic every Tuesday night?
It'll get there. It'll get there. I've gotten a lot of nudges in that direction, so hopefully soon.
Great. Well, anyway, thank you so much for being part of this, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
So thank you, Pete. I love this. I love this season 2 concept of the sharing economy, because it takes what you're doing as an actuary and telling us what's your money worth on a money mountaineering journey, and taking it to a new level and inviting more of us to join in besides just your fantastic actuary friends, or in addition to. So thank you, Rebekah. Such a pleasure to meet you. Rebekah is the bookstore manager for Barnes & Noble in Santa Rosa, California. And Pete, of course, is the author and actuary who we love. PeterNeuwirth.com. I'm Hope Katz-Gibbs, producer of the show on the Incandescent Radio Network and Incandescent TV. We look forward to seeing you next month. And Becca, come back anytime and share more stories with us. Thank you all for listening.